and taking so many. So give her a nice discount. Tell that lady.
Tell the guy, get up and walk, and when we get the roof. It requires some work, Sister Rose, to get him up to the roof. We have to figure some kind of way to get some kind of rope, some kind of contraption to pull him up to the roof. And you have to be coordinated. You can't be pulling and he's not pulling. He let his hand. All of us have to be coordinated to bring him to the roof. Yes. Everybody have to be together. 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. You have to be coordinated to get him to the roof. Now we get him up to the roof. We need to cut the roof. Who have a saw? How many people go to church with saw? Go and get a saw. Well, it's Sunday, the hardware store closed. Go get a saw. Hurry, because this meeting will be over. This meeting ain't going on all the time. This meeting have a scheduled time to stop. Hurry, go get a saw. Saw the roof. More problem. The people who own the house could sue you behind. The damage and destruction. We're going to worry about that later. Cut the roof. You know, nobody's thinking about the damage. Sometimes you could cut the roof, you could cut it in the wrong place and weakly struck and every whole thing could come crumbling down. How many know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You have to find the right beam to cut, or right, you cut the wrong beam, all of us going to be in a mess. So you cut the roof. Now we have to get rope and coordinate ourselves, the same coordination to pull him up, now to let him down. Jesus has saw their faith. Are your friends doing that for you?
Hello?
Or they're dragging you away from the things of God? I see people, the maize people going, so all this sort of, you know, they want you to come to their party, their backyard party, their barbecue, and all this sort of. Well, let's make a deal. Just like Rahab, let's make a deal. You keep your mouth shut, I keep my mouth shut. But the deal is you have to save my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my uncle, my aunt. You have to save everybody for me, or else I'm going to tell the king. Deal. So when they come, they save all her family. We have a deal. And the deal was so good, she married a man in Israel called Salmon, and they had a son called Boaz, and going right on to Jesus Christ. Let's make a deal. You want me to come to your party? Come to church. I ain't coming to church. Well, I ain't coming to your party. Yes, I could come and listen to your devilish music and your bad behavior, but you can't come to church. No, I can't come. I have no Bible. I'll get your Bible. I can't read. I have a glass. So come, I'll help you read. Always some Mickey Mouse excuse for their stuff. But you could go to their stuff, but they can't come. No, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. You don't come, well, I don't come either. Easy, you want to go to come and make them feel good, make them feel good, nothing.
That's right.
You know? So here you have this route, they leave and they go down to Bethlehem, Judah. Everybody died. Look at these Moabites. These Moabites, people, when they were going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, they had Lot there. He's the only one there. Abraham interceding for his nephew down in Sodom and Gomorrah. So he went to God, and he said, well, if I can find 50 righteous there, would you save the place? I'll save it. He come back, couldn't find, what about 45? He said, I'll save it for 45. What about 40? I'll save it for 40. What about 30? I'll save it for 30. What about 20? I'll save it for 20. Couldn't even get that amount of people living right down there. Down to 10. God said, don't come back. You couldn't get 10 righteous people in 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah? So don't come back. Tell you what, we're going to destroy this place. To get out. So they dragged them out of there. The wife turned back, become a pillar of salt, but you'd get Lot and his 2 daughters out of there. And they went and live in the mountain. And they conclude that everybody's dead, so we have to preserve seed of our father. So the elder one get the father very drunk. He didn't know he was that drunk, had sex with his daughter and get her pregnant. The other night, he get him drunk again. And I always ask the $1 million question, where did they get alcohol beverages? Everybody running for their life. What did you, people looking to get your ID, get your certificate, get your boat, get your passport, get your money, get your bank, that kind of thing. You see, Brother Francis, that's the kind of thing you're looking for to run with. Nobody think about alcohol beverages. And they had that much to get him that drunk that he didn't know. You running for your life, you want to get your jewelry, things that is, just saying. But they get him that drunk, he had sex with the bigger daughter and the younger one. So they had these two children, the Moabites and the Ammonites. That's where they came from. So that's where they're going to live. But what kind of children you going to produce? You can't get sweeter water from a bitter fountain? Bad. So that's where they come from, the Moabites. And it get that bad. Look at this. Watch this. Look at Numbers. Look at Numbers. Numbers chapter 25. Put up with me. I have about 10 more minutes to go. Put up with me. Numbers 25. See, there's always a story behind the story. Numbers 25. When the children of Israel was very successful, defeating all the enemies around them. And this Moabite king called Balak, son called Balaam, to curse these children for me, put a curse on them so I could beat them up. You see, all these facets of revelation. If they sin, you can't have no victory. Get you to sin. Get you to sin. You try to Israel sin, they can't go over the enemies. Once sin is out, you can't have no victory. So he said, defeat them for me. Put a curse on them. He said, well, I can't do that. God said, I blessed them. So Balak, the king of a moment, said, I can't do that. God blessed them. He said, one thing we could do, get him to sin. When you get him to sin, no victory. So how are we going to get him to sin? Look how you're going to get him to sin. Numbers 25, look at verse 1. Look at who he get to get him to sin. Look at verse 1. Israel abode in Shittim, and the people begin to come at Hodam with, yeah, they're good with sex. See, they was conceived in sex. Get these Moabites to go there. And they let them loose among the children of Israel, get them to sin, and that's how they defeat them. Let them loose. They're sex things. Sex is the thing. That's how they was conceived. Father get very drunk, and they conceive. So get the Moabites and let them loose in the country, through the children of Israel. And that's how they get them to sin, and of course they defeat them. You see, get them sin. And God said this about these Moabites. Deuteronomy 23. I'm glad I came today. 7 women, 7 wives. Deuteronomy 23. Look at the 3rd verse. Look at the 3rd verse. Put your finger on the 3rd verse. Deuteronomy 23. You better learn these things. Sometime in your home, you can't have no victory. Somebody sin. Somebody sin. Somebody sin. And one of the prayer you have to pray, if you confess your sin, he's faithful and just forgive you. Sometimes the reason why somebody sin, and God is not going to aid and abet you in a spiritual crime. He's not going to do it. A lot of things in my life I had to straighten out, because the way I was raised and thing, it was very bitter. How many know what I'm talking about? Bitter. And as you grow, you get bitterer. How many know what I'm talking about? Because you perfect the art in being bitter. You find ways to being bitter. Until God say, well, I can't do that with you. You have to straighten some things out. Some of these debt that they owe you, have to cancel those debt. Leave these people alone. Let's leave it. I'll deal with them. Vengeance is mine. And it take a little while. Take a little while. It doesn't today, tell you, and tomorrow. No, it take a little while before you purge yourself of all that hate and all that unforgiveness and all that bitterness inside. It take a little while. And then you have to be in a place like this to be taught to say, well, listen, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. That's right. You're hurting yourself. You think I'm hurting him, I can say, hate him, and I hate her, and I hate her. I want to see her get in an accident, die, get cancer and die. You're hurting yourself, you're not hurting them. You're hurting yourself, you're not hurting them. I was teaching this class once out in Bushwick. This is not mine. Give John, he usually view me on television, listen on radio. And he come up with this scenario. Listen to this. We was teaching on forgiveness out there, and this brother John, he said, listen, is this something, Pastor? He said, you growing up, somebody raped you, somebody shot you in your spine and you can't walk, somebody break into your apartment, steal your car, borrow money and didn't pay, and you mad, you bitter with them. That person who hurt you, go on to God and say, God, I'm sorry. Please forgive me what I did to this woman, what I did to these people, sell them drugs and mess up. I'm sorry, God. Please forgive me again. God forgive him. He died, he gone to heaven. You who was hurt, you are forgiving. You die, you go to hell. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, he did you wrong. He asked for forgiveness. Get on his knees and he cried to God, God, I'm sorry what I did to that woman, that man. I'm sorry what I did to that person. Forgive me. And he cried. And God forgave him. He died, he gone to heaven. You who was hurt, you never forgive. And you going to hurt all that kick and spit you receive from him, you going to hell. Think about that scenario. Think about that scenario. Just think about that. That's John, the guy coming out. I said, man, that's good. And then you start coming back to you. You heard probably they're going about the merry business. Someone else, well, them thinking about you. But you have that hate inside you or that unforgiving, whatever it is. You see? Bad. Look at Deuteronomy 23rd and verse 3. The Ammonites and the Moabites shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even unto the 10th generation, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord for a weekend. You see that? I don't want these people here. You see, the way they were conceived, they're very destructive people, especially with sex. And most of the sins in the Bible have to do with sex. Most of it. Fornication, adultery, lasciviousness, uncleanness, sex. Sex. Biggest one is sex. You know? Any sin that a man sin, it's outside the body.